Hello and thanks for joining us for our late night newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. We begin with domestic politics. The nation's main opposition Minjoo Party of Korea has elected a new leader tasked with guiding the party to the top office at next year's presidential election. Here's our political correspondent Shin Se-min with the details.
The nation's main opposition, Minjoo Party of Korea, has elected its first female head, five-term lawmaker Choo Mi-ae. It also marks the first time the party has selected a leader from the Daegu and North Gyeongsangdo province region, the traditional stronghold of the ruling Saenuri Party. Through the national convention held on Saturday, members of the Minjoo Party picked Choo as their new chief and 8 new Supreme Council members.
I accept the party's order to successfully win back power from the Saenuri Party at next year's presidential election.
Choo promised to unite the party by breaking away from factionalism, defeatism, and outdated politics. The new leader is also expected to lay out progressive-leaning changes to the party's policies, including its stance on the deployment of the U.S. missile defense system THAAD, something Choo opposes. The judge-turned-politician was brought into politics in the late 1990s by then-President Kim Dae-jung. She later went through some turbulence as she voted in favor of impeaching late President Roh Moo-hyun after playing a key role in his campaign, an event she calls the biggest mistake of her career. She later reconciled with Roh's supporters. Watchers say Choo won because she had the full backing of the so-called pro-Moon Jae-in faction, who took on the Roh faction following his death in 2009.
With the new head of the main opposition Minjoo Party, Choo Mi-ae, in place, now the focus is on putting the party on the right path for next year's big election. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
So, the newly elected chief of the main opposition Minjoo Party of Korea is from the party's mainstream faction. Our Ji Myung-gil takes a look into what might lie ahead for the party under the leadership of Choo Mi-ae.
The Minjoo Party of Korea's new chairwoman, Choo Mi-ae, is backed by followers within the so-called Moon Jae-in circle. Moon used to lead the party, ran for president in 2012, and is aiming to take a second shot at the presidency in 2017. Professor Choi Young-jin from Chungang University said Choo's victory is good for the party.
Since Choo is from the mainstream faction, she can lead the party firmly. The non-mainstream members will be given the option to shape the party's policy initiatives.
The professor adds that the Minjoo Party ended up consolidating the hegemonic power of its mainstream faction, following the path taken by the ruling Saenuri Party. Regarding whether Choo can be on good terms with the Saenuri Party, Professor Choi said it shouldn't be a major issue.
Under the two-party system, leadership characteristics were important, but now we have a three-party system. There's more emphasis on negotiating skills. Therefore, she needs to persuade the Saenuri and minor opposition People's Party through good policy initiatives.
The professor thinks that under Choo, the Moon Jae-in faction will gain a stronger foothold within the party and allow it to better prepare for the big test in 2017. The main task for the newly sworn-in chairwoman Choo Mi-ae will be to win back power for the Liberals at next year's presidential election by defeating the ruling Conservative Party. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, China has joined the other members of the UN Security Council in condemning North Korea for its recent ballistic missile launches. Pyongyang's foreign ministry has responded to the adoption of the press statement, calling it a terrible provocation. Hwang Ho-jun reports.
A quick turnaround. It only took 2 days for the UN Security Council to issue a press statement concerning North Korea's recent provocations, including the launch Wednesday of a ballistic missile from a submarine. Even China, North Korea's only major ally, joined the other 14 council members in reaching a unanimous decision to condemn Pyongyang for its violations of UN resolutions and sanctions. This is in stark contrast to earlier this month, when the Security Council gathered to address a similar issue. At that time, the Council failed to reach an agreement because of China's desire to include a message opposing the planned deployment of a U.S. anti-missile system in South Korea. Friday's statement did not include such a connotation. South Korea's foreign ministry was quick to welcome the Security Council's move. Our government strives to ensure a stern response from the UN Security Council through multilateral diplomatic efforts with our key allies. The Council's resolute message to North Korea carries significant meaning. The South Korean government also said it sent a letter to the Security Council, expressing concerns and condemning North Korea's efforts to reprocess plutonium for its nuclear weapons program. On the same day the Security Council press statement was released, the White House said it was deeply concerned about North Korea's continued provocations, including the regime's ongoing nuclear and missile development. It also slammed the North Korean regime for its appalling human rights record. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea's test firing this week of a submarine-launched ballistic missile set the region on edge and, as we just heard, provoked a strong and swift international response. And while Pyongyang's SLBM program is progressing faster than expected, experts say it still won't be fully operational and battle-ready for at least another 2 years. According to an article carried by North Korea monitoring website 38 North, the regime's SLBM program can be compared to the history of Russia's SLBM development program, which North Korea is said to be copying. The article said that even after 2 years and 12 tests after its first successful SLBM launch, Russia still found and had to fix multiple glitches. Moreover, it says the North would still need to construct necessary infrastructure to effectively implement the program. The National Assembly is standing by South Korea's decision to maintain restrictions on the use of government-supplied maps overseas. An embassy think tank said the government made the correct choice to delay a decision as it could impact national security by exposing sensitive military installations to North Korea. The South Korean government has yet to respond to a request by Google to take government map data for use in servers worldwide. It said this week that it will put off the decision until late November. Google says it needs the data to offer full GPS and other mapping services in Korea, but critics say it will seriously affect the competitiveness of the nation's ICT industry. Korea and Japan have agreed to resume a currency swap deal which expired last year. Following talks with his Japanese counterpart Taro Aso in Seoul on Saturday, Korea's finance minister Yoo Il-ho announced that the two sides will start negotiations to reopen the deal. Minister Yoo said the agreement represents the strong economic cooperation between Seoul and Tokyo at a time of rising global uncertainty. Further details, including the amount, will be decided later at working-level meetings. Currency swap is an arrangement between two countries to trade in their own local currencies at a specific rate of exchange to bolster their defences against potential market turbulence. South Korea is hosting the 8th Korea-China-Japan Culture Ministers meeting this weekend. The ministers are on Jeju Island to discuss ways to further boost cultural exchanges, especially with the 2018, 2020 and 2022 Olympics set to take place in the three countries. EG1 has more.
The Korea-China-Japan Culture Ministers meeting kicked off on Korea's Jeju Island on Saturday. Now entering its 8th year, the annual event focuses on ways to expand cultural exchanges and develop cultural networks among people and institutions in the three countries. This year, the two-day meeting will especially focus on the upcoming Olympics in the three countries, starting with 2018 Winter Olympics in Korea, the 2020 Summer Olympics in Japan, and 2022 Winter Olympics in China. Through the Games, the three countries are seeking to further promote the East Asian region. Topping the agenda on Saturday is a Director General's meeting. The participants will also participate in an opening ceremony and attend a festival featuring collaborative performances by artists from each country. And before the meeting wraps up, the three countries will engage in the annual ritual of designating 3 East Asian cultural cities for 2017. Through the designation, the countries are seeking to promote the cultures and traditions of the chosen cities, while also facilitating cultural exchanges between all three of them throughout the year. 이지원, Arirang News, Jeju.
Now, the number of people killed in Wednesday's earthquake in central Italy has risen to 290, with almost 400 others still receiving treatment in hospital. Rescue workers have acknowledged that they may not find any more survivors, as powerful aftershocks have damaged access roads to the hardest hit areas. No one has been pulled alive from the rubble since Wednesday evening local time. Now, a state funeral is being held for 35 of the victims. Flags will also fly at half-mast as Italy holds a national day of mourning. Security forces in Bangladesh say the mastermind behind last month's terror attack in Dhaka has been killed in a raid. Officials say Bangladeshi Canadian citizen Tamin Chowdhury and 2 other militants were shot dead during a raid on their safe house. The July 1st attack on a cafe in an upscale Dhaka neighborhood killed 22 people. The victims, mainly Italian, Japanese and Bangladeshi, were tortured and hacked to death with machetes. Finally, let's take a quick look at the weather. We do have some more sunshine in store in Seoul on Sunday, but we'll have some showers down south. The nights are beginning to get cooler, so you may need a light jacket if you're planning on staying outside into the wee hours of the night. With that, let's take a look at the weather for Korea and the rest of the world. Well, those are the stories we have for you at this hour. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out the website arirang.com/news. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Goodbye.